Let them throw stones, they're just building the throne you'll sit on. While they choke on their bitterness, you're sipping from the cup of destiny. The crown was never meant for them, and deep down, they know it. That's why they hate you. A rising star doesn't ask permission to shine, and neither should you. Chosen ones, hear me loud and clear. You weren't chosen for a life of mediocrity. You were chosen to stand out, to rise above, to make them uncomfortable simply by existing. That's why their envy burns so hot. They can't touch what's meant for you, no matter how many schemes they cook up in the shadows. Every glance of fake admiration, every attempt to sabotage you, every word dripping in falsehood, it's all being noted by the universe. And karma? Oh, she's the kind of teacher who never forgets who needs a lesson. The power you hold terrifies them, not because you're loud or boastful, but because you are relentless. You don't fold under pressure, and every time they think you're out of moves, you come back stronger. That kind of resilience drives them mad. Your success is like salt on their wounds, and their attempts to knock you down only make your victories sweeter. Let's get one thing straight. You're not the villain in their story. They are the architects of their own downfall. The harder they try to block your blessings, the bigger their own obstacles become. Every sneaky plot they hatch, every ounce of energy spent on tearing you down, is just the universe tightening the trap around them. You see, karma doesn't just punish, she delivers poetic justice. And when the scales tip, it won't be subtle, it'll be devastating. They thought their jealousy was a weapon, but it's a curse. Imagine this. Every ounce of their energy wasted on hating you is like drinking poison and expecting you to die. They're digging their own grave while you keep rising. That's the power of being chosen. You're a storm they can't escape, a fire they can't extinguish. And the more they focus on you, the more they lose sight of their own path. Here's the funny part. While they're busy wishing for your failure, they're sabotaging their own growth. Jealousy blinds them, clouds their judgment, and keeps them stuck in the same bitter cycle. And you're like a freight train, unstoppable, moving forward no matter what's in your way. That's what drives them insane. Your very existence is proof that no weapon formed against you will prosper. And here's the truth they'll never admit. Deep down, they wish they were you. But instead of learning, they choose to hate. Instead of rising, they choose to wallow. That's the difference between you and them. You're chosen, and they're trapped by their own envy. So let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them doubt you. The universe is already working on your behalf. Their downfall is inevitable, not because of your revenge, but because of their own actions. Karma is a mirror, and the reflection they'll see will be one of regret, pain, and loss. Stay steady, chosen ones. Your light is too powerful to be dimmed, and their jealousy is just fuel for the fire that will consume them. And to you, yes, you, the unstoppable, unshakable chosen one, thank you for being here. Whether you're new to this journey or have stood strong with us from the beginning, your energy is what fuels this movement. If you're ready to embrace your power, rise above the chaos, and claim what's meant for you, go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to show the world you're unbothered, unstoppable, and on your destined path. And now, let's break this down, step by step. If you truly are a chosen one, trust me, you won't want to look away. You'll feel the pull, the undeniable call to stay till the very end. Let's dive in. Number 1. When you dig a pit for the chosen, you fall in twice as deep. The louder they laugh, the harder they fall. Their schemes are like boomerangs. They always come flying back, but this time they hit harder than they ever expected. The weight of their jealousy will crush them, not because you fought back, but because karma never misses. Karma is a master architect of downfall, and it never rushes its work. The moment your enemies moved against you, whether through lies, manipulation, or petty sabotage, they unknowingly set their own traps. Their weapons of deceit were never meant to harm you. They were always designed to turn against them. That's the beauty of being chosen. The universe fights for you in ways that leave your enemies questioning everything they thought they controlled. Here's the bitter irony that karma delivers so perfectly. Their lies don't just collapse. They unravel in public, like threads pulling apart a mask they've worn for too long. The ones who once believed them, cheered for them, and mocked you by their side will watch as the truth blazes through the facade. And those same people, they'll turn their backs. Nothing burns more than a reputation set ablaze by its own fire. It's almost poetic how karma doesn't rely on you to seek revenge. You don't have to play their game or lower yourself to their level. While they're running circles, trying to block your blessings, you're still rising. Why? Because being chosen means you're protected in ways they can't comprehend. While they waste time digging pits, karma is ensuring they fall in, not once, but twice as deep as they imagined. Think of it like this. When they plot your downfall, it's like building a sandcastle on the edge of the ocean. The tide of karma always comes in, sweeping away their illusions of power and control. They can scramble all they want, but once the water rises, there's no stopping it. It's not revenge, it's a natural law of the universe. The energy they poured into their hatred rebounds with devastating precision. Maybe they wonder, why isn't this working? Why can't I bring them down? Because chosen ones are untouchable in the long game. Your spirit is fortified by something they'll never understand. Your purpose, your destiny, your resilience. That's why every attempt to harm you only strengthens you and weakens them. Their envy is like quicksand, pulling them deeper every time they lash out. And here's the kicker. Karma loves an audience. It's not just about balancing the scales, it's about delivering a message in full view of everyone who needs to see it. The same people they rallied to laugh at you, to doubt you, will witness their fall. Their lies will crumble in front of the very eyes they tried to deceive. That's the raw power of being chosen. You don't just survive their attacks, you thrive, and their failure becomes a public lesson. Your enemies will learn, but not in the way they'd hoped. Karma's justice isn't quiet or subtle. It's a symphony of consequences. It doesn't just hit them where it hurts. It ensures they can't escape the echoes of their own actions. And as their walls come crashing down, as their carefully crafted lies unravel, they're left with nothing but regret and the realization that they were their own worst enemy all along. Think of the power in this. You never had to chase revenge, never had to stoop to their level. You stood firm in your purpose, letting the universe do what it does best. That's the true strength of a chosen one. You're not just protected, you're elevated. Every attempt to harm you becomes a stepping stone for your greatness, and every lie they told becomes a nail in their own coffin. So let them watch, let them fume, let them wonder why their hatred has only led them to ruin. Karma has made sure their downfall is as loud as their schemes once were. Their regrets will echo longer than their laughter ever did. And you're still standing, still shining, still chosen. Because in the end, their failure is the masterpiece of karma, and your success is the brushstroke that completes it. Number 2. Their worst punishment is watching you win without breaking a sweat. There's no louder thunder than the sound of your silent success. Every step you take forward shakes the ground beneath their feet, forcing them to face the truth they can't escape. Your rise is their fall. There's no sharper punishment for your enemies than watching you thrive. Your success isn't just a personal triumph. It's karma's most poetic revenge. Every achievement you unlock is a glaring reminder of their own failures, and the harder they try to ignore it, the louder it becomes. It's not something you do to them, it's something they do to themselves. Your growth highlights their stagnation like a spotlight on their darkest corners. While you're out there breaking barriers, chasing goals, and embracing joy, they're stuck in the same loop of bitterness, jealousy, and self-inflicted misery. Your every move forward is a reflection of the life they could have had, if only they had chosen to focus on themselves instead of obsessing over you. Here's the brutal truth. They thought tearing you down would make them feel better, but instead, your success has become the mirror they can't avoid. Every time you celebrate a win, it forces them to confront how little progress they've made. Not because of you, but because they've spent so much energy trying to stop your shine. And the irony? They're the ones keeping themselves stuck. Think about it. Every milestone you reach is a reminder of the time they wasted. Every joyful moment you experience is a weight pressing down on their regrets. They could have been building, growing, and thriving, but instead they chose envy, and now they're paying the price. This is the beauty of karma. It doesn't always strike with a dramatic blow. Sometimes it works quietly, letting them sit in the agony of their own choices. Your peace, your progress, and your happiness are the very things they tried to deny you, and now they can't escape the truth. Their jealousy didn't harm you, it only exposed their own insecurities. And here's what stings them the most. Your success doesn't even have to be loud. You don't have to throw it in their faces or seek validation. The fact that you're moving forward, unbothered and focused, is punishment enough. Every small victory, every moment of peace, every genuine smile on your face, it all cuts deeper than any words ever could. They'll never admit it, but your success haunts them. Not because of what you have, but because it's a constant reminder of everything they don't. They're stuck measuring their worth against yours, and the more you accomplish, the heavier that burden becomes. While you're living your life, they're trapped in a cycle of envy that only grows stronger with every step you take. Karma doesn't need to deliver a dramatic downfall for them. Your continued rise is the punishment they'll carry with them every day. The longer you succeed, the more they're forced to confront their own inaction, their wasted time, and the toxic energy they poured into trying to stop you. So, chosen one, keep going. Your growth, your peace, and your joy are more than just rewards for your efforts. They're the justice your enemies will feel every time they see you winning. Let them watch, let them wonder, let them stew in the irony that their jealousy wasn't your downfall, it was theirs. Karma doesn't have to lift a finger when your success says everything. Number 3, their apologies will be too late, and the damage will be forever. The bridges they burned can never be rebuilt. Their apologies are like whispers in a hurricane, too weak, too late, and utterly powerless to undo the storm they created. Karma doesn't play games when it comes to delivering consequences. By the time your enemies realize the depth of their mistakes, the damage will already be carved into their lives like an unhealing wound. They'll come to you with apologies, hoping to patch things up, but their remorse will be like rain on parched earth that can no longer absorb it. Their regret may be genuine, but karma makes sure it arrives long after it matters. Every betrayal, every lie, every scheme they crafted to harm you, those actions weren't just fleeting mistakes. They were permanent stains, and no amount of late-night apologies or teary-eyed confessions will erase the consequences. Karma makes sure of that. It doesn't allow for quick fixes or redemption on their terms. Instead, it leaves them to sit in the wreckage they created, haunted by the realization that their actions have become irreversible. By the time they summon the courage to admit their wrongs, you will have already moved far beyond them. The person you were when they betrayed you, that version of you no longer exists. You've grown, evolved, and risen above their toxicity. And when they finally come to apologize, you'll barely feel the sting of their past actions because your life will be so much greater without them in it. Their words will feel hollow, not because you're unforgiving, but because you've outgrown the space where their apology could have held meaning. Karma doesn't offer them an easy escape. It doesn't let them sweep their mistakes under the rug with a simple, "I'm sorry." No, their punishment is far deeper than that. It's in the constant reminder of what they've lost, the relationships they destroyed, the trust they can never regain, the opportunities they let slip through their fingers because they were too consumed by their own bitterness. Their regret becomes a weight they carry for the rest of their lives, a shadow that never leaves. And here's the harsh truth. Their apology isn't for you, it's for themselves. It's an acknowledgement of what they did, a desperate attempt to find relief from the guilt they've been drowning in. But karma ensures that relief never comes. The emotional distance between you and them will be insurmountable, and no amount of words, no matter how sincere, will ever close that gap. They'll have to live with the scars of their own actions, replaying the moments they chose wrong, wishing they could go back and rewrite their choices. But karma is a strict teacher. It doesn't just deliver consequences, it ensures that the regret becomes a permanent fixture in their lives, a constant reminder of what they destroyed with their own hands. By the time they're ready to apologize, their words will be nothing more than echoes of what could have been. You'll have moved on, stronger and more unshakable than ever, while they remain trapped in the prison of their own remorse. And that, chosen one, is how karma ensures that the lesson sticks forever. Number 4. Karma teaches the arrogant that respect isn't optional, it's survival. The higher their arrogance, the harder their fall. Karma doesn't just humble them, it reshapes their reality until they have no choice but to bow to the truth. Respect is the currency of survival, and without it, they're bankrupt. There's something poetic about how karma dismantles arrogance. Those who act out of jealousy and spite operate under the delusion that they're untouchable, as if their actions will never catch up with them. But karma is a quiet architect of consequences, and it never rushes. It knows exactly when and how to strike, forcing them to face the bitter reality they've been avoiding. When they see you, steadfast, thriving, unbothered by their pettiness, it shatters their illusion of power. Every lie they told, every scheme they plotted, every attempt to drag you into their mess becomes meaningless as you continue to rise. They start to realize that your strength isn't just a shield, it's a mirror reflecting their own insecurities. And as the contrast between your dignity and their bitterness grows, so does their discomfort. What makes karma's lesson so powerful is that you don't need to lift a finger to teach it. You don't need revenge, and you don't need to stoop to their level. The universe does the heavy lifting, putting your resilience and growth on full display while they remain stuck, drowning in their own envy. They expected you to crumble, to react, to lose focus. Instead, they watch as you achieve everything they tried to block, and more. Your success becomes undeniable. It's built on perseverance, hard work, and self-respect, not on tearing others down. And deep down, they know it. They may never admit it out loud, but they feel it in every failure, every opportunity they've missed, because they were too consumed by their own jealousy. Their pettiness was a leash, chaining them to mediocrity while you kept moving forward. That realization isn't just humbling, it's devastating. Karma doesn't stop there. It forces them to reflect on themselves, whether they want to or not. They'll begin to see that their actions didn't just harm you, they sabotaged their own growth. Every ounce of energy spent trying to dim your light could have been used to improve their own lives. Instead, they're left with nothing but the weight of regret, watching as you succeed on the very path they tried to block. This is where the ultimate truth sets in. Respect is no longer a choice. It's the only way forward. Not because they've suddenly become your biggest fan, but because they can't deny the power of your approach. Your ability to rise without resorting to their tactics is a lesson they can't ignore. They'll come to understand that the arrogance they clung to was their greatest weakness, while your respect for yourself became your greatest strength. For you, it's a silent victory, a testament to the power of staying true to your purpose. For them, it's a loud, uncomfortable reckoning. Karma doesn't just humble them, it rewrites their understanding of power, showing them that respect isn't just earned, it's required. And that's a truth they'll carry with them, whether they like it or not. Number 5. Karma's clock strikes when they least expect it. The slowest blade cuts the deepest. Karma doesn't rush. It watches, waits, and when it finally strikes, it doesn't just wound. It shatters everything they thought they had under control. Karma is the ultimate strategist. It never acts out of haste or emotion. Instead, it moves with precision, calculating the perfect moment to make its move. Unlike your enemies, who scramble and rush to sabotage you, Karma takes its time, quietly waiting while they unknowingly dig their own graves. That's the beauty of Karma. It doesn't just balance the scales, it makes sure the fall is as spectacular as the climb was arrogant. Here's the irony. While they think they're winning, while they're smug in their belief that their lies and schemes have worked, Karma is silently setting the stage. It lets them grow comfortable, even arrogant in their victories. Maybe they've convinced themselves that their actions have no consequences, that their manipulation and jealousy have gone unnoticed. But Karma knows better. It waits for the moment when they're at their most complacent, their most secure, because that's when the blow lands hardest. Imagine this. Just when they're celebrating, when they think they've successfully hurt you or gotten ahead, Karma steps in. It doesn't just nudge them off balance, it sweeps the ground out from under their feet. It's not random, it's not an accident. Karma's timing is intentional, ensuring the impact is not just felt, but remembered. That's what makes its justice so brutal. It leaves them reeling, their confidence shattered, their arrogance replaced with regret. And when it strikes, it doesn't just inconvenience them, it changes everything. Karma hits where it hurts the most. It could be a missed opportunity they'll never get back, the loss of someone's trust they'll never regain, or the crumbling of a reputation they worked so hard to build on lies. Whatever the hit, it's perfectly tailored to force them to confront their actions, to see their reflection in the consequences they tried so hard to avoid. This isn't about petty revenge. Karma's goal isn't to embarrass them, it's to teach them. A slap on the wrist won't cut it. Karma waits for the moment when its lesson will scar, not just sting. It's the kind of reckoning that forces them to stop and ask themselves, how did I get here? And the answer will always lead them back to their own choices, their own schemes, their own bitterness. And while they're picking up the pieces, consumed by the chaos they created, you're thriving. Karma ensures that the chosen ones remain untouched, unbothered, and unshaken. Your success continues to climb, an unyielding reminder of how their attempts to harm you only fueled your fire. The contrast is stark. You rise while they fall, and no one can deny the poetic justice in that. Karma's timing isn't just a secret weapon, it's a masterpiece. It transforms what could have been a minor consequence into a defining moment, one that leaves an indelible mark. So let them scheme, let them plot, let them think they've won. Karma may move slowly, but its wheels always turn true. And when they do, they leave no doubt about who was really in control all along. Number 6. Jealousy is alone. They can't afford, and karma is the ruthless collector. Jealousy is like signing a contract with karma in invisible ink. It feels good in the moment, but when the bill comes due, the price will break them. Envy doesn't ruin your life, it bankrupts theirs. Jealousy is one of the most dangerous games they'll ever play, and the stakes are higher than they realize. Every time your enemies let that bitterness fester inside them, they're not just toying with emotion, they're building a debt. The cruel irony. Karma is the collector, and it never forgets. The price of envy isn't just steep, it's crushing, and the interest keeps piling up until they're drowning in it. They think their jealousy is harmless, a fleeting indulgence. Maybe they convince themselves it's normal, something they can keep under control. But jealousy isn't just a feeling, it's a toxin. It infects every part of their lives, spreading through their thoughts like a slow poison. It clouds their judgment, ruins their peace, and slowly destroys any chance of true happiness. And the most ironic part, the harm they wish for you never reaches its target. It bounces back, growing stronger until it turns their own lives into chaos. Picture this: every lie they spread about you, every scheme they plot, every bitter word they mutter behind your back. It's like they're planting seeds in their own garden. But instead of flowers, they're growing weeds. The same jealousy that drives them to act against you also locks them into a cycle they can't escape. Their obsession with tearing you down blinds them to their own growth. While they're watching your every move, hoping to see you fail, they're missing every opportunity to build something worthwhile for themselves. And you're untouchable. Their gossip doesn't derail your purpose. Their shade doesn't dim your light. In fact, every bit of energy they spend hating you becomes fuel for your rise. That's the power of being chosen. They can't stop your progress, no matter how hard they try. It's like a fire they keep feeding, only to realize it's warming you while it burns them. But karma? Oh, karma plays the long game. It doesn't rush to punish them. No, it lets them stew in their misery first. It lets them live with the consequences of their jealousy, watching as their peace erodes, their friendships crumble, and their opportunities slip away. Their own bitterness becomes a cage, and they don't even realize they're the ones holding the key. Every time they let envy guide their actions, they're tightening the chains around themselves. Here's the hard truth they refuse to see. Jealousy isn't just destructive, it's self-inflicted. It's like drinking poison and expecting you to feel the effects. While they're busy comparing themselves to you, resenting your success, and plotting against you, they're only sabotaging their own lives. It's a slow decay, and by the time they realize what's happening, it's too late. They're stuck, watching you thrive while their own world falls apart. And when karma finally steps in, it doesn't hold back. It doesn't need to. The damage was already done by their own hand. Karma just makes sure they feel every ounce of regret, every pang of loss, Every missed opportunity they were too blind to see because they were too focused on you. The friendships they destroyed with their bitterness, the time they wasted feeding their envy, the self-respect they lost along the way, it all comes crashing down, and there's no escaping it. They thought their jealousy was hurting you, but in reality, it was building the walls of their own prison. And Karma? She's the one who locked the door and walked away. The cage they built out of bitterness, envy, and spite becomes their reality, and they're left to sit in it, wondering how they got there. The beauty of being chosen is that their envy can't touch you. You rise, regardless of their schemes. Your light blinds them, no matter how hard they try to dim it. That's why they can't stand you, chosen one. It's not just your success. It's the way their jealousy bounces off of you and boomerangs right back at them. So let them envy, let them gossip, let them plot. Their energy only fuels your progress, while they stay stuck in the quicksand of their own making. Karma doesn't forget, and it doesn't forgive. It's a collector, and when the time comes, it ensures they pay the price with interest. That's the lesson they'll never forget. Jealousy doesn't just cost them peace, it bankrupts their entire world. Number 7. The harder they push, the higher karma lifts you. Every stone they throw becomes part of the ladder you climb. Their jealousy is like a windstorm. It tries to knock you down, but only makes your roots grow deeper and your branches stretch higher. Here's the thing your enemies will never understand. Every move they make to tear you down is only building you up. Karma has this poetic way of flipping the script on their intentions. The negativity they pour into trying to stop you becomes the fuel that propels you forward. The lies they spread, they sharpen your resilience. The roadblocks they set, they teach you to navigate new paths, ones they could never even imagine. It's almost laughable. The harder they push, the stronger you become. Every bit of energy they waste plotting against you is unknowingly handed over to you as a gift. Their hatred becomes your inspiration, their doubts your motivation. And the best part, they don't even realize they're doing you a favor. While they obsess over you, their own growth comes to a screeching halt. They're too busy trying to block your blessings to realize they've forfeited their own. Meanwhile, you're out here thriving, adapting, and evolving into someone they could never compete with. Every step they take to sabotage you only paves the way for you to rise higher, and karma doesn't let them miss the show. No, it makes sure they're front and center to witness your success. They'll see the same obstacles they threw in your way turn into stepping stones beneath your feet. Their jealousy becomes the very reason you're miles ahead of them, and there's no denying the bitter truth. The harder they tried to destroy you, the more powerful they made you. Think about it. Every time they speak your name, even with bad intentions, they amplify your presence. Their gossip spreads your story further than you could have yourself. Their attempts to undermine you force you to become more strategic, more focused, more resilient. It's like they're handing you the blueprint to your success while sabotaging their own foundation. And here's the irony they'll never see coming. Their jealousy doesn't destroy you, it destroys them. While you're climbing higher, they're stuck in a cycle of bitterness, blinded by their obsession with you. Their inability to focus on their own growth leaves them stagnant, watching from the sidelines as you rise above every challenge they threw your way. This isn't just karma at work, it's artistry. Karma isn't content with just teaching them a lesson. It uses your success as a masterpiece of poetic justice. You become the proof that no amount of envy, no scheme, no attempt to block your light can stop someone destined to shine. So let them push, let them plot, let them try. Every move they make only amplifies your power and diminishes theirs. The harder they push, the higher you rise. leaving them to realize far too late that their energy wasn't your downfall, it was your fuel. Number 8. Karma speaks in silence, and its echoes are deafening. The loudest punishments come without a single sound. Karma doesn't need applause or announcements. It operates like a shadow, unseen but undeniable, dismantling everything your enemies thought was untouchable. Karma's most ruthless weapon is its silence. It doesn't come crashing in like thunder or put on a show for the world to see. No, it works quietly with surgical precision, dismantling the plans of those who dared to harm you. There's no need for fireworks or dramatic declarations. Karma prefers to let its retribution unfold in ways so subtle they don't even realize what's happening until it's too late. Your enemies might wake up one day and wonder why everything feels like it's slipping through their fingers. Their opportunities seem to vanish before they can grab them. Their relationships, once so carefully curated, start to crack under the weight of their own actions. And as the chaos builds, they're left standing in the rubble of their own creation, wondering how it all fell apart. That's the brilliance of karma. It doesn't have to announce itself. It works in whispers, but the results are devastating. The beauty of silent retribution lies in its subtlety. It doesn't humiliate them publicly or create dramatic scenes. Instead, it targets what matters most to them. Maybe their career suddenly stalls, leaving them scrambling to recover. Maybe their lies are exposed at the worst possible moment, forcing them to face the consequences. Or maybe it's something even simpler, like a creeping sense of dissatisfaction and failure that follows them everywhere they go, like an unwelcome shadow. Whatever form it takes, karma makes sure the lesson is personal, precise, and unforgettable. And here's the poetic part. They don't even realize that their suffering is the result of their own actions. They're left questioning, overthinking, wondering what went wrong. Why is their life unraveling? Why can't they seem to find peace? The answer is simple. They planted the seeds of their own destruction when they chose to harm you. And karma, ever patient and precise, simply let those seeds grow. What makes silent retribution even more satisfying is that no one else has to know. While your enemies are drowning in their own misery, you're free to live your life in peace, untouched and unbothered. You don't have to seek revenge or even lift a finger. Karma does the work for you, quietly but thoroughly, ensuring that balance is restored without any noise or drama. It's not about grand gestures or public humiliation. Karma is far more elegant than that. It operates with a quiet, ruthless efficiency, delivering justice in a way that leaves no room for doubt. The lesson is profound, and the consequences are inescapable. Your enemies thought they were clever, but karma is always one step ahead. It doesn't forget, and it never misses. Their downfall is inevitable, not because you fought back, but because karma wove their own actions into the perfect storm of consequences. And as they struggle in silence, you stand tall, shining brighter than ever. Karma doesn't need an audience or applause. Its power lies in its quiet, calculated delivery of justice. And in that silence, the truth becomes undeniable. Everyone, eventually, gets exactly what they deserve. Number 9. The chains of obsession are their own undoing. When you spend your days staring at someone else's fire, you forget to tend your own. Obsession is the flame that burns the envious alive, and karma makes sure the heat is unbearable. Jealousy, when left unchecked, grows into an all-consuming obsession. And for your enemies, this obsession becomes the very trap that destroys them. They think their endless fixation on you, on your life, your success, your every move, is a weapon. What they don't see is that they're pointing it straight at themselves. Their unhealthy focus drains their energy, clouds their judgment, and keeps them stuck in the same bitter cycle. Every thought they waste on you is a missed moment for themselves. While they're busy plotting your downfall, you're out there moving forward, taking bold steps and growing stronger every day. Their obsession becomes a prison, with walls built out of their own insecurity and envy. They watch you shine, and instead of using that as inspiration, they let it fester, turning their admiration into bitterness. They don't realize that their constant attention is doing nothing to dim your light. In fact, it's making it shine brighter. The irony is delicious. The more they focus on you, the more they lose themselves. It's like they're stuck in quicksand. Every bit of energy they throw into watching you only pulls them deeper into their own misery. They replay the same toxic thoughts on a loop, obsessing over your victories while their own lives stay stagnant. It's not you that's holding them back. It's their inability to look away. And here's where karma steps in, with effortless precision. Karma doesn't need to lift a finger to punish them. Their own obsession does all the work. It becomes a black hole, swallowing their potential, their focus, their peace of mind. They can't see the opportunities slipping through their fingers because they're too busy peeking over the fence at yours. Relationships deteriorate under the weight of their negativity. Their dreams gather dust while they pour everything into tearing you down. Meanwhile, you're thriving. Your progress doesn't stop because of their envy. In fact, their obsession fuels you in ways they can't even comprehend. They're unintentionally amplifying your presence, giving you free energy while depleting their own. And when they finally look around, they'll see a life that feels empty and stagnant, while yours is a testament to growth and success. This is the ultimate karmic twist. Their fixation on you doesn't harm you, it only sabotages them. All the time they spent trying to drag you down was time they could have used to rise. But they couldn't see past their obsession. Karma doesn't just balance the scales, it delivers clarity in the most brutal way. One day, they'll understand. You were never the problem. The real battle was always within themselves. And by the time they realize it, it'll be too late. They'll be left staring at the life they let slip through their fingers while watching you live the one they only dreamed of. That's karma's masterpiece, turning their obsession into the anchor that keeps them stuck while you soar to heights they'll never reach. Number 10. Karma shines a spotlight on their cracks while you keep rising. A cracked mask can't hide the truth forever. The harder they try to tear you down, the brighter karma's light exposes every flaw they've tried to conceal. Jealousy isn't power. It's weakness dressed in desperation. Jealousy is nothing but insecurity wearing a cheap disguise, and karma has a way of ripping that mask off for everyone to see. Your enemies don't envy you because of what you have. They envy you because you embody everything they feel they're missing. Every attempt they make to harm you, every snide comment or underhanded action is just a projection of their own frustrations. But here's the thing, karma doesn't let them hide behind their facade for long. It starts quietly, like a whisper they can't ignore, growing louder until it's deafening. The cracks in their carefully constructed lives begin to show. Their jealousy, once kept under wraps, starts to spill out, revealing the fragile foundation they've been trying so hard to keep intact. Maybe it's their fear of failure, their deep-seated insecurity, or their inability to find joy in their own lives. Whatever the weakness, karma shines a spotlight on it, amplifying it until it's impossible for them and everyone else to ignore. The lies they told about you to gain validation, they boomerang right back, unraveling in the most humiliating ways. Their bitterness becomes as visible as a storm cloud hanging over them, and the people they once rallied to their side start to see through the act. They're left exposed, their true intentions glaringly obvious. And the worst part? They can't blame you or anyone else for it. Karma ensures that every crack, every flaw, every insecurity they tried to bury rises to the surface for the world to see. Meanwhile, you're thriving. While they're busy unraveling, consumed by their own jealousy, you're out there building, rising and shining brighter than ever. You're the living proof of what true resilience, confidence and focus look like. Every move you make becomes a silent lesson, a constant reminder of everything they could have achieved if they'd only looked inward instead of wasting energy trying to bring you down. This is where the lesson hits the hardest. They begin to realize that their jealousy didn't hurt you. It only exposed them. The energy they poured into sabotaging you could have been spent fixing the cracks in their own lives. Instead, they've only widened those cracks, leaving themselves vulnerable and isolated. Karma doesn't just show them their weaknesses, it forces them to face those weaknesses head-on, with no escape. The irony is brutal. The same envy they thought gave them power becomes their undoing. The very person they tried to undermine, you, becomes a mirror of what they could have been if they'd chosen self-improvement over spite. Every success of yours, every step forward, becomes a reflection of their missed opportunities. Karma's lessons are harsh, but fair. It doesn't just punish, it teaches. It reveals the truth they tried to avoid and forces them to confront it. And in the end, they're left with nothing but the realization that their downfall was never caused by you. It was written in the cracks they refused to repair. Number 11. Karma's backfire is the boomerang they never see coming. The arrows they shoot at you don't just miss their mark. They ricochet with brutal precision, piercing their own armor. The harder they try to harm you, the deeper their wounds will be. That's karma's poetry in motion. Karma has a signature move, and it's ruthless. The backfire effect is her masterpiece, a boomerang with razor-sharp edges that always finds its way home. It's almost laughable how your enemies convince themselves they're untouchable. They scheme, they spread lies, they move with calculated malice, believing their moves are flawless. But karma? She's quietly watching, letting them dig their own graves with every underhanded act. Every rumor they start, every opportunity they try to snatch away from you, it all circles back in ways they could never anticipate. That lie they told to tarnish your name, it ends up revealing their true nature. The door they slammed in your face, it swings open for you but locks tight on them. The beauty of karma's backfire isn't just in its precision, it's in its timing. It waits for the moment when they're at their most smug, most confident in their victory, and then it strikes with the force of a freight train. Here's the irony they'll never understand. Their own actions are their downfall. Karma doesn't need to conjure misfortune out of thin air. She simply amplifies the energy they put out and hands it right back to them. It's poetic, really. The harm they wished for you becomes the very poison that corrodes their own lives. And the best part? They rarely see it coming. Imagine this. They're celebrating, gloating, maybe even laughing at what they think is your failure. But just as quickly as their joy begins, it shatters. The rumors they spread to damage your reputation end up boomeranging back, exposing them as the frauds they are. That job or opportunity they tried to sabotage, it becomes the one thing they desperately needed but can no longer reach. It's almost as if karma is saying, "This is what happens when you play dirty with the chosen ones." What makes the backfire so satisfying is its unpredictability. It strikes in ways they can't control. Maybe their schemes lead to a string of professional failures, as their true colors are exposed to the very people they sought to impress. Maybe their personal lives start crumbling, with friendships and relationships falling apart under the weight of their negativity. To the outside world, it might look like a string of bad luck. But you and I both know better. It's karma doing what she does best. Karma doesn't need violence, chaos, or loud proclamations to deliver justice. The backfire effect is subtle but devastating, ensuring that every action meant to harm you becomes their undoing. And the lesson is always crystal clear. You can't build success on someone else's downfall. Every time they tried to hurt you, they were laying the foundation for their own destruction. So, chosen ones, keep standing tall. Let them throw their stones and sharpen their knives. While they waste their energy plotting, karma is patiently crafting their reckoning. The harder they push against you, the harder they'll fall when the backfire hits. And trust me, it will hit, precisely, mercilessly, and when they least expect it. That's the power of karma. It never forgets, it never forgives, and it always ensures they reap exactly what they've sown. Number 12. Karma turns the tables. You become the lesson they can't escape. The greatest punishment for your enemies is not your revenge, it's watching you thrive. Without a word, you become the mirror that forces them to confront the ugliness of their actions. A silent teacher they never asked for, but desperately needed. It's one of life's most poetic twists. The very people who tried to break you end up learning their most profound lessons from your resilience. While they schemed, plotted, and hoped for your downfall, you became the example they needed to see. Karma doesn't just hand out consequences, it weaves a masterpiece of irony, making you the teacher they never expected, but absolutely deserved. Think about it. While they were busy focusing on your every move, hoping for your failure, you rose above it all. Their gossip didn't break you. Their envy didn't dim your light. Their attempts to derail you only sharpened your focus. And the lesson they learned, that your strength, your dignity, and your ability to thrive despite their attacks are far more powerful than their bitterness. You didn't just survive, you thrived, and in doing so, you became their silent instructor. The beauty of karma is in its precision. It doesn't need you to lift a finger or seek revenge. It turns the tables effortlessly, showing your enemies the very flaws that drove them to target you. Your resilience becomes a mirror that reflects their insecurities and weaknesses. They're forced to see how their actions were rooted in fear, jealousy, and a lack of self-worth. Whether they want to admit it or not, karma uses you to hold up that mirror, and the reflection is impossible to ignore. What makes this lesson even more powerful is your intention, or rather, the lack of it. You weren't out to teach them anything. You didn't stoop to their level or waste your energy on proving them wrong. You stayed focused on your own growth, your own path, and that's what hit them the hardest. While they were consumed by negativity, you were busy building a life they could only envy from afar. Karma is a masterful teacher, and it doesn't need loud revenge or public spectacle to make its point. It uses your quiet strength, your perseverance, and your refusal to engage in their games as the most effective tools for change. Your life becomes the lesson they never saw coming, a real-life example of what it means to rise above pettiness and bitterness. They may never thank you. They may never admit it out loud, but in their hearts, they know. They know your resilience taught them more about life, integrity, and self-worth than any words ever could. They see now that attacking others doesn't lead to happiness or fulfillment. It only leads to emptiness. And your refusal to let their actions define you forced them to confront the truth. They need to grow. Karma's genius lies in this subtlety. It doesn't need to destroy them to make a point. It uses your rise as the quiet, undeniable proof that the only way forward is through change. You became the teacher they deserved, not by trying, but simply by being. You lived your truth, and that was enough to rewrite their narrative. So let them watch. Let them wrestle with their regrets and realizations. Your strength, your success, and your unwavering path are the only lessons they'll ever need. Without a single word, you've taught them the most powerful truth of all. Growth begins not by tearing others down, but by building yourself up. And there you have it, chosen ones, the undeniable truth about karma's precision and your unstoppable power. Your resilience, your rise, and your ability to thrive despite the odds are the ultimate revenge and the ultimate lesson. Let karma work its magic while you stay focused on your purpose, because your enemy's downfall is already written. If this message resonated with you, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you're ready to embrace your strength and rise even higher. Let's keep shining.